Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Migrant Hub channel. If this is your first time joining us, the Migrant Hub is a platform which is intended to create intentional choices in the lives of young professionals. I'm your host Charlene, and typically every day or every other Wednesday I share very interesting and very essential videos for young adults and young professionals. So on this episode I'm going to be talking about the 5 money mistakes that us as millennials make. There's so many of us who complain all the time. We are always like, oh, I don't know where my money is going, I don't know why I'm not doing this, why I cannot get a raise, why this, why that in regards to our money. Well, watch this episode because I'm going to be sharing 5 important things that happen or that lead us to be able to be where we're at in terms of like why am I in this financial situation. And if you find yourself making those mistakes, it's never too late. There's always time to readjust and replan and re-strategize. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and almost make sure you give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, and always comment. Thank you. So the first point or the first mistake which I see most of us in our generation make is spending on your credit cards and not knowing how you're going to repay that money. So of course, credit card companies, we have MasterCard, Visa, American Express, Discover, so many different companies. You know, most banks have credit cards. So we are always like, yes, it's so easy to swipe. It's so easy to swipe. I want to buy this new shirt, I just swipe. I want to buy this new Fashion Nova outfit, I just swipe, you know. But a lot of times we spend so much money swiping Uber, this, everything goes on our credit card, but we don't necessarily think about how we are going to pay that. Does your salary allow you, or does your hourly check allow you to be able to make those payments for which you're making those huge purchases for? So, and a lot of times banks make money off of us because they charge us interest rates, because if by the next closing date you're not making your payment, then as a result of that they're going to charge interest on you, because technically you're using their money to make a purchase which you are benefiting from. And if you cannot make that payment by the deadline, there's no reason why they wouldn't charge you. So they make money off of interest rates. If anyone is like me and has not made full payments on their credit card at some point in their life, interest rates can kill you. And interest rates for banks are about 16%. Imagine if you have this like $1,000 and it's 16% of that. So it's a lot of money if you think about it, and you do have to make that payment eventually, because as a result of that it affects your credit score. And you should watch my previous video about when I talk about how the credit score process works and how you can actually increase that. But also remember that we have to really be diligent and think about how you're going to be able to make these payments. Don't just use your card for the sake of it, but be wise about why and how. The second millennial mistake that we make in regards to our money is living the YOLO lifestyle. You only live once. Truth be told, yes, we only live once, but at the same time, how are you saving? How are you thinking about your future? You only live long. You only live once, and I'm sure many of us want to live long. And in living long, you have to start thinking about certain things like investment. Do you have a savings account? That's very important, you know. And I'll talk about this further in the video, but we're very much in the mindset of today. Amazon Prime has made us know that, you know, we can get things very instantly. There's no need to wait. There's no reason why we should be patient and stuff. But so I want us to kind of get out of this you only live once mentality and really be strategic about how you spend and what you need to do in regards to prepare for your future. Many of us want to live long, but are you thinking about your 401k? Are you thinking about what kind of retirement home you want to have? So different things like that. I encourage you to get out of that mentality, because that's a mistake that so many of us are making, and then we end up working for the rest of our lives, which I know ideally nobody wants to do. You want to be able to stop working at some point and reap the benefits of your labor. So think about that, and let's try to get out of that mentality. The third important mistake that I find that many of us in our generation make is we don't track our spending habits. Many of us say, I get my paycheck on the 15th of the month, I don't know where it goes. That's not true. We do know where it goes, but are we really tracking our expenses? This is a very, very essential and important tip, because if you're not tracking your expenses, you cannot tell me how to manage my money better. If I know, for example, and this is very honest, I know a lot of my money goes to Uber. Guys, Uber and Lyft, you guys need to sponsor me, because so much of my money goes to Uber and Lyft. And I think 2 months ago, I was just looking at my expenses and just thinking about it. And I said, you know what? No, scratch that. I'm taking the train everywhere I go. I live in New York City. There's a subway that goes pretty much everywhere. So I'm definitely not charging that much money to Uber and Lyft. And I'm so conscious about it because I realized that it was annoying me. All my paycheck, everything, Uber and Lyft, Uber and Lyft, Uber and Lyft. So if you need to be able to track your expenses, because once you track your expenses, you can re-strategize, make better decisions about yourself money-wise. So I encourage you today, think about it. Don't fall in that trap. Many of us are already in that trap, but we need to get out of it because we need to live better lives and we need to be wealthy. Now, the fourth mistake which a lot of us as millennials make is we don't have an emergency fund. Let's say, God forbid, something happens, right, to someone in your family. Somebody needs to go to hospital, somebody needs to have an emergency surgery, and they need $3,000, and you make $75,000. Are you going to have that money in your savings account ready for them? That's a very important question. Many of us we do not have an emergency fund. And your emergency fund, typically how I do it is mostly 3 months of my basic necessities. So things like rent, things like utilities, Wi-Fi, food, I calculate all of that I would typically spend in a month and then multiply that by 3, and that's what I would typically keep as my emergency fund, because I know that at some point, if something were to happen, I'll be able to have that. That's the purpose of that money, is if in case you lose your job, you let go of your job lets you go, what are you going to be able to use as a leverage? What are you going to be able to use to be able to as a buffer, so that you're able to find another job within that period, or you're just able to live the life that you want to live in those 3 months. So think about it. Many of us really do not have emergency funds, and you don't want to get to that point where at that point you need money essentially or emergency immediately, and you're not able to raise those funds. Then you turn to credit cards, and then you don't even know how you're going to make the payments, and you see how the cycle goes on and on and on. So in order to make better and smarter decisions, we should think about having an emergency fund. It really doesn't take that much. It's just actually having the determination to do it and be disciplined about it, because at the end of the day, if you want to get to somewhere in your financial situation, many of us want financial freedom, but what are you doing? How are you thinking about it? So we need to really consider that. The fifth and the last point is, and I think everyone can really relate to this, is not doing your due diligence when it comes to saving money or when it comes to making investment decisions. So many of us have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have Twitter. We have now seen this Instagram models, there's Instagram fashionistas, there's Instagram people are influencers making so much money on the internet through legit sources, but we don't know all the work, we don't know everything. Somebody will say, oh yeah, I started my Instagram page and instantly I started making $300,000. As young professionals who are educated, who care about their future, I encourage everybody to do their due diligence. And what I mean by due diligence is, because someone is making money through this route doesn't mean that this is how it actually works. Yes, it may be legitimate, yes, it may be the most effective way ever, but do your own homework. Don't just say, okay, because this person, because Alexis did it, because Charlene did it, then I'm just going to do that. No, because at that point, you're not making an educated decision. You're not making an intentional choice, which is what the Migrant Hope channel is about. So think about it. Don't just jump into something. I see that that's a lot of mistakes that our generation, us as millennials, we're making in regards to our money. You would have saved up a little bit of money because this influencer has done this. You just take all your money, boom, invested in that. How is that going to benefit you? Are you even sure? You don't even know the process. You don't know how it works. For example, if someone tells you, oh yeah, I make 600,000 in the stock market, just as the most hypothetical situation ever, you don't understand the market, you don't know anything about it, you just take all your money they've saved and just dump it into the market. I don't know how smart of a decision that is. So we need to really consider that and really think about it. Hopefully these tips helped you guys. I'm very excited to be sharing this, and make sure you comment below, right? Let's talk about it. Let's engage in the description box. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you so much for tuning into the Migrant Hope channel today. It's your host again, Charlene, and I'll see you in the next video.